on the track getting blunted just to hustle, getting money while they work the oven. Is he faking, is he fronting like I'm rapping for nothing? A skinny fucking bitch, but I'm flexing my muscle. If you stuck in a struggle, I can't knock your hustle. On the block with the thugs while the cops trying to bust us. Snitching busters, yeah they busters. Sending killers out to hustle like it's nothing. Call my bluff then, I'm C-Dub.
Hello everyone, my name is Easy. Welcome to another episode of Easy Does It, where we do reactions and reviews to YouTube channels. Sometimes I may vlog on here as well. I do have another channel which I do reviews on movies, television, paranormal, video games, a variety of different things. And it's called Channel TBT. Check that out if you want. This week we are going to go with a mystery channel. Now I like mysteries. I like a variety of different type of mystery channels. For the most part, it's not like paranormal video channels like SlapTam and Nuke 5, which have already done, where they display videos and like a top 5 list of videos. This is a different type of channel than that. It does cover them kind of things, paranormal, but it also covers true crime and a variety of other type of mysteries, things that are out of the norm. I like anything that has something to do with mysterious events that most people can't explain, like scientists or big investigators, private investigators, kind of like, This one, as you will find out, you will see that they don't do videos, like video clips, like a top 5 channel. What they do is they show like pictures and tell you the story of the mystery, what happened, and then leave you to your own conclusion of what you think might have happened. But Unsolved Mysteries is basically what it is. As you can see over here on this channel, it gives you a list of what they try to upload. It doesn't always come out that way. Sometimes they're a little off. A lot of channels, it happens that way. They do have quite a few subscribers, and they do have raked up a number of views. They got several different social medias, which I don't subscribe to any of those. I know better. I don't want that kind of crap or information about me out. They do have some podcasts. Now, I've never done podcasts, so I don't know how you would go about doing that, but that's all that if you want to check that out. They've been on for a good number of years, since 2016. So, anyways, we're going to check them out. And this is 5 creepy ancient places of worship. Let's do this.
Hi, I'm Andrew Fitzgerald, and welcome to Scary Mysteries, where we have all the true crime, supernatural, or mystical stories you want to hear about. The human history is riddled with strange places and mysterious.
Now, I've been watching this channel for quite a while.
We don't fully understand.
He didn't used to do that.
Throughout the world, if you look in the right spot,
you wouldn't see him on screen.
Have done, but are strange, or
they've
even just
changed a
don't make
little
much
bit
sense
over
at
the
all
years.
In the modern world we live in. And in some of these spots, there are terrifying stories so crazy that they left a hard mark on this world, some of which can still be felt today. In today's episode, we're going down a dark road that showcases 5 of them, so let's get into it. Here are 5 ancient places of worship with a creepy history. Number 5, Carter Monastery. Chances are you guys have heard of the horror movie The Nun.
Yeah, it sucked.
Sharing its popularity is the Abbey of St. Carta, which is supposed to be the main setting of this story. So, what exactly transpired?
I didn't
in
like
St.
that movie
Carta?
at all.
Abandoned and left to crumble in peace, the Abbey is quite a sight to behold in the South Transylvanian countryside of Romania. Records indicate that this monastery was formed sometime in the early 1200s. The building is considered the oldest Gothic fortified church within Eastern Europe. It was built by Cistercian monks in the shape of a cross. This choice of design makes it even more intriguing. Despite being in an advanced state of decay and deterioration, the Abbey of St. Carna remains to be a breathtaking
I like
structure
old
worthy
ancient
of
places
pilgrimage
like
for people
that.
all
I'd
around
like
the
to
world.
walk around and just,
Most
just
people
look
want
at
to
them.
set foot in the church to admire
I
its
think
majestic
places
presence.
like that are cool looking.
Others visit this place to see and feel for themselves the mystery that surrounds it. You see, according to accounts, this abbey was a tough place to live for the monks who inhabited it during the medieval times. Their hellish daily routine would involve them getting up as early as 3 a.m. to work hard throughout the entire day. Despite the laborious effort, however, food remained scarce. Making it worse was the fact that they were cramped in small living quarters, making it nearly impossible to get a good night's rest.
Yeah, ancient times were
Due to
different.
this apparent poor
People
state
had to
of
work
living,
just
monks
to
here died at the age
survive.
of 35 or 40 years old.
Not like today.
Most of those who perished were buried.
This
right at the
generation is so
abbey. As such,
think
many
they're
believe
entitled.
The souls of these
just
seminarians
ridiculous.
have lingered there, and in fact never left.
They would never
There are
survive in those
reports
times.
indicating how haunted this place is, as witnesses often talk about the paranormal activities happening in the cellar, like chairs moving on their own and the walls vibrating. Poltergeist activity has also been recorded with objects being flung across rooms. As if this wasn't creepy enough, the film The Nun just intensified everything.
I don't see how.
Apparently, the Abbey of Carta
Has nothing
has
to
been
do with it.
mentioned as its setting, although it certainly was never haunted by Valak, the demonic nun in the movie. Despite being worn out by time and practically ruined, the Abbey of St. Carta remains a place of interest for tourists and ghost hunters alike.
It would surprise me.
Number 4.
I'm a
Sedlec
PI
Ossuary.
myself, paranormal investigator. I check it out.
It's said that
Looks
sometimes
cool.
the best and most memorable travels are the ones that make you feel a little bit thrilled or scared. Maybe because inside we love those moments when our emotions
Oh,
are
ghost
stirred.
hunters. There's Dave Tango and
You'd
Sherry.
find exactly what you're looking for here in the Czech Republic if you went there. It's nestled right in the middle of Kutna Hora, a town outside of Prague, is a small, ordinary-looking
What her
church
name?
that, despite its unassuming facade, attracts attention not only from those all around Europe, but from around the world. The
Sure.
reason lies deep within the building's interior. Known all throughout as Kutna Hora's Bone Church, this religious site
Again,
conceals a
some of these
feature that,
names.
according to some, is not for the faint of heart.
1870.
Down in its
Pretty old.
basement are hidden the bones of thousands of humans, bleached and then ornately carved to cover every inch of the subterranean space.
Wow.
So, how exactly did this come to be?
That's so macabre.
As the story goes, sometime in the 13th century, a local abbot made a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. On his way back, he brought back some soil scooped and taken from the Holy Land. He then spread that across the church's cemetery. As soon as word got out, people from every corner of the region went there to bury their dead. This practically made Sedlec Cemetery
the-
the most popular burial place at the time.
Some people are so superstitious.
Long before the bubonic plague ravaged Europe in the 14th century, the church had already become the final resting place for the dead that numbered into the tens
Wow.
of thousands. And when the
Religious.
plague came,
Religion had
those
so much
30,000
power
victims
back
were
then.
added to the list.
So much power.
Several
Because
years
people were
later,
so
10,000
superstitious.
more casualties were laid in this particular cemetery. And if you think this would have prompted church officials to control the interment,
Well, you know the
They
place
chose
got to
not
be
to.
haunted or creepy Especially
grounds
when you
remained
got
open for
that many
hundreds,
types
if
of
not
bones
thousands of other burials in the following decades.
and that many
Towards
burials.
the end of the
There.
15th century, the community
Just
decided to
too
construct
much.
what is now the Gothic Church.
There's got to be activity
The
there.
construction needed the bones to be moved from the yard, and they were piled in the ossuary or bone storage, specially made beneath the new building.
Yeah. It's just like the
There,
tunnels
the
in
bones,
France.
estimated to weigh in the thousands of tons, were left undisturbed
You know
until
there's gotta be tons of
1870, when the church hired a
spirits
local
there.
architect to create an adornment using these bony remains. What the artist did was bleach and carve the bones to make them suitable for decoration. He made chains of skulls with lengths stretching across hallways and entryways. Chalices and crosses were also put together using hips and femurs. He even made family crests made entirely of skeleton parts.
You got to think all these
But the central piece and
spirits,
main
their
attraction here is a
physical
gigantic chandelier that
body,
is said to
bones,
incorporate every single kind of bone in the
have
human
been
body.
misused
It would be an unforgettable
and
sight to behold when
improperly
staff
buried,
members lit up the candles that would then glow
used for
from the gleaming,
artwork.
hollow-eyed white skulls.
I'd be kind of pissed too.
Said the ossuary is not necessarily unique. All over Europe, there are a handful of churches and cathedrals built and decorated in the same manner. However, Kutna-Hora's bone repository is still a place like no other, considering that it's thought to be the second most visited destination in the entire Czech Republic. There's no contest to this. Sedlak ossuary exudes a special
It's
aura
not surprising.
that can either
People
bring forth a
like
sense of peace
macabre
and
crap,
enlightenment, or that troubling
even though they,
feeling
you
that
know,
makes you question the frailty of your own life.
they don't make it like a big deal, but
Number
it's
3,
like a
Mortimer Abbey.
hidden thing. They like the macabre. People
Historic
love the
monuments,
macabre.
old buildings, and
Even
archaic
though they
places of
claim
worship
they're
are
not
often
like
shrouded
that.
with countless stories of tragedies brought about either by cataclysmic events, mysterious circumstances, or sometimes even heinous crimes. As expected, these tales sprout legends of ghostly figures roaming the places, or creatures seeking vengeance on those who wronged them. What would usually happen is that these stories are limited to one or two entities causing havoc. But deep within the forest of Lyons in France, a historic monastery has become home to countless spirits, each spawning from different tragic events. Called the Mortimer Abbey, this religious building is now considered to be one, if not the most haunted place in all of France. But before we look into the different events that earned this abbey its reputation, a quick history.
Tell
During
us
the
the
12th
history.
century, the order of Saint Benedict grew in terms of number and influence. In reverence, King Henry I of England donated a large swath of land to the church. The gifted land, though, was far from being usable, as it was mostly marshland. As a result, the monks there had to work double time in digging out a drainage lake in order to dry out the soil.
So they
All
built
the water
on
that got
water.
seeped in eventually created a huge stagnant pond. The French call it Mortimer, which in turn gave the monastery its name, Mortimer Abbey.
It is kind of weird. It's strange. It's
Legend
still
has it that after the
unexplainable.
death of King Henry's son,
But you do
he
get a
exiled
lot of
his daughter
spirits
Matilda
near
to the
water,
Abbey for 5
or on
years.
or whatever.
This brought on
Near
the
or
girl a
on
sense
water.
of anger and hatred that couldn't be quenched. The walls of the monastery bear witness to the animosity she felt towards her king father. Fortunately, though, Matilda made it out alive. The princess went on to live fully before dying a natural death. Though she was laid in the outside world, it's said that her spirit returned to Mortimer Abbey to haunt the place as the White Lady. During the full moon,
There's
she can be
always a
heard
white
moaning
lady.
as her ghost drifts through the ruins of the monastery. Those who have seen her say that she can either be wearing black or white gloves. And if she comes to you with white gloves, it means you'd have good luck.
Of course.
And the opposite happens when they're black.
Of course.
The other disturbing
There's
event
always
occurred here in the
subtail.
early 1500s when a sickly woman was brought to the monastery. The monks surmised that the patient was possessed by the spirit of a wolf, which would make her a werewolf for 7 nights.
Oh, God.
As such, she was chained up in a room while the clergies performed
Wow.
exorcisms in the hopes to eradicate the spirit.
That's true. That's.
Rumor has it that she died within the grounds of
I'm
that
telling you,
monastery.
people back then were so superstitious.
Moving forward,
They would
several hundred
abuse
years
other
later,
people
in 1884, a man was
for
said
a
to be
medical
hunting in the
condition that
area
they couldn't
when he was
explain.
attacked by a large werewolf. He shot and killed the creature. When he returned the following day, he found out that his target was actually a human female. Then came the French Revolution, when revolutionaries swept the land, stripping the rich and the royals of their wealth. They also ransacked anything that reminded them of oppression, even churches and monasteries. Now, by this time, Mortimer Abbey was run by 4 measly monks who decided to remain when everyone else had fled. When the insurgents arrived, the 4 were then mercilessly tortured and later on killed. In 1863, the abbey was bought by a rich family, a decision they quickly regretted. Reportedly, the new owners were disturbed by shadows appearing in the night, footsteps walking through the hallways,
Of
doors
course.
locking on their own, and paintings flipping themselves around. Other owners took hold of the property since then, and they too could attest to the terrifying paranormal
I'm
activities
sure they
taking place
did.
on this religious ground. Despite the lack of true concrete proof, many still
Exactly.
believe that Mortimer Abbey is completely and utterly haunted.
Get you some evidence. Back up your claims.
Number 2, Ari Sephardic Synagogue.
I always say that.
The thing about demons and
Make
evil
sure you're not
spirits
the
is that
only
they
one who
thrive in places
experiences
devoid of holiness and
or
light.
sees it.
As such, churches and prayer houses are supposed to be immune from these negative entities. And yet, the story that surrounds the famous Ari Sephardic Synagogue seems to defy this logic. At the center of the old city of Safad in Israel is Ari Sephardic Synagogue. Old as time, this site of Jewish communion has already been around for hundreds of years when the legendary rabbi Yitzchak Lori came here to pray.
Uh-huh.
It's said that the rabbi had met more than once the spirit of Elijah the prophet inside this ancient house of worship. Because of this,
Yeah.
the Jewish community
Sure he
revered this
did.
place as sacred, if not the holiest of all.
I'm sorry, I
The
just
Bible, such
I don't
sites are
buy the
considered
whole
off-limits
the
to anyone
righteous
who's
man
not
can
consecrated
see
or made holy.
BS by
Those who dared to
religion.
defy meant certain death. Despite these warnings, there really were many instances where people would go inside unprepared and thus perished for inexplicable reasons. In the mid-19th century, everyone was panic-stricken with the rumors saying that the synagogue was haunted by spirits trapped within. People then began avoiding it for fear that they too might suffer the same wicked fate. Eventually, a caretaker decided to lock the
superstitious.
doors and
People are
barred anyone from
superstitious.
entering it.
Especially
Over in
back then.
1921, another famous rabbi, Rabbi Yisrael Abadzera, visited the synagogue. Despite protests from the caretaker, the Moroccan Jewish spiritual leader forced himself into this temple. An aide of his later recounted what he considered an unbelievable incident, wherein the Baba Sali, as what the rabbi was so called, removed the Torah scroll stored within a synagogue's ark, which is basically an altar. He then read the scripture written on the scroll, and he did so in a way like he was exorcising the entire place of its evil dwellers. After Baba Salih was certain that danger had passed, he walked out and pronounced the Sephardic synagogue clean and holy once again.
Of course he did.
Now, the shul is open to the public, and tourists, but mostly
You always have a
believers in the
religious
Jewish
leader
faith, come in to
who
say their prayers and study the Torah.
Does something by
now,
himself
without
and then he
fear
comes
of being
out and
stricken
he's,
down by death.
yo, everything's cleansed, blah, blah, blah. They do it all the
Number one,
time.
A quiet church. The Aquia Episcopal Church in Stafford, Virginia, It was registered as one of the most important National Historic Landmarks in the state.
In the
Not only
U.S.
for its
now.
unbelievably stunning architecture, but also for its rich history.
All right, tell us the
Built in the
history.
1700s, this gorgeous, brick-laden house of worship has survived countless calamities like fire and wars. However, if there be one thing that people mostly remember about this place, it's the tragic and mysterious tale that occurred within its walls. Legend has it that in the mid-1700s, a young blonde woman traveled what was then the dark country roads of rural Stafford County. It wasn't specified if she was on her own, but during her journey, a group of highwaymen jumped out into the road and ambushed her.
Wow. Okay.
Life was difficult during these times.
Yep.
Men would usually wait beside the roads to
That
steal
would-
from people
yep.
passing by.
Well, that was anywhere.
This woman managed to run away from the bandits and
most
went straight to the
times.
church seeking refuge. However, it
Highwaymen
was all
all
but
the
a
time.
temporary escape. Desperate to get a hold of her, the vagabonds smashed their way through the doors and the barricade.
Uh-oh.
Once inside, the men stripped her
No
of
respect
everything she
for it.
had, after which they tortured and
Sure.
murdered her in cold blood.
Ouch.
They then hid the victim's body in the vestry, which is a bell-less church tower.
Sucks for her.
Criminals who mercilessly killed the passerby were never caught. Decades had passed, and the American Revolutionary War ended.
I'm sure a lot
The
of them
quiet
did get caught
church
back
began to
then.
open its doors to its congregation.
Crime
When
was a
in,
little bit
It
different
was a
back
tragic
then.
shock on everyone's
got away
faces
with
when
a
they
lot of
discovered
stuff
the
back
corpse
then.
stashed in the vestry. What remained there was her skeleton and a
Oh,
full
they
head
found
of beautiful
eventually
blonde
found it,
hair.
huh? Years later.
It was a ghastly sight. Dried blood was splattered everywhere, on the walls, on the floor, even up in the ceiling. Church members tried to cleanse the tower room, but the bloodstains were there for so long they couldn't get them out. Eventually, they decided to just cover up the blood marks by pouring concrete over it. The physical details of the ghastly crime may have officially been covered, but the remnants of the horror lingered.
You think?
It's said that strange things happened in this church ever since the woman's bones were found. Witnesses have sworn they often hear footsteps walking around at night, even when no one's supposed to be there. Eerie noises can be heard as well, and some have heard a loud groan, a moan, a scream, or even a cry for help. Passerbys also mentioned seeing a ghostly female figure standing in the vestry windows, on the balcony, and in the graveyard.
Uh-huh.
As such, church members and even locals began calling the entity Blonde Beth, a name that was obviously derived from the blonde-colored hair found
Okay.
in the skeleton. Services are still being held in a quiet church to this day. Despite its chilling history and the hauntings, it remains a beautiful
Wow.
and peaceful place of worship for
Still
those who believe.
going. Good for them.
Hey, if you want additional content from us, follow us on social media.
But that is Scary Mysteries. The channel Scary Mysteries. And that's the way they do things. Andrew does things. You know, they show pictures and then tell you about the mystery. It's a decent channel. Not bad. This one was okay. What he did with this video was alright. I don't watch all of their videos. I do watch quite a few of them from time to time. Mostly their paranormal stuff. And some of their true crime. I do watch some of the true crime. If it's strange enough. Like, I mean, like, you know, weird, you know, debauching mysteries where the person has disappeared with no trace, and you know, they can't figure out what the hell happened. It's just bizarre. Those kind of true crimes I check out quite a bit. But anyways, definitely a decent channel. Check it out if you're into weird, strange mysteries, paranormal or true crime otherwise. And that's all I have for you this week. I'll see you next time. Take care.